Welcome to the Guntersville Grassroots Podcast presented by Frog Talks. I'm your host, Pat Kennemer, and I've got Mr. Trey Swindle back here with me. I slid in on a little bonus episode last week without him. He lives too far away to drive up here to talk to somebody for 5 minutes. That's just the way it is.
Yeah. Sad but true.
Sad but true. He'll come visit me every other week. Matter of fact, I even got a text message from him. And for those of you that know him, getting a text message from Trey Swindle is very rare. Captain John Maynard says his phone works one way. I'm going to harp on that about every time we talk.
Yeah, that's fine. He does too.
He does too. Anyway, Trey, I'm glad you're back. I haven't really been fishing since we were together. I've been deer hunting a little bit. Yeah. And mostly working on a kitchen remodel. Here's a note to anybody. Do not start a kitchen remodel at the first or second week of January because it really cuts out hunting during the rut. I'm just telling you that. There's you're a young man. If you ever start looking at it and you go, hey, let's remodel the kitchen in January, don't do it.
Don't do it? Okay. I remember that.
Don't do it. But I want to get it done before it really turns off nice. It's nice today.
Yeah, it is. It's supposed to be nice tomorrow too. I think even nicer than today.
Yeah, and then this weekend, the Kay Donaldson effect.
Yep, she does that everywhere we go.
I don't know that she can take full blame for that because PD Vincent that runs the Bass Cash Bash, he's coming in up here this weekend as well, and this is our 5th year, and I think it has gone from being 65 or 70 to very cold every time he's come. So Kay gets to share that with him this time.
That's fine.
Because I sent him a screenshot of the weather the other day, and I said, well, look, it knows you're coming.
That's right. It don't even bother me. Everybody else that bothers, like every time, man, I'm like, it don't even bother me. I expect it. Like it happens every time.
Prepared for it.
Every open I fish, every ABT, it always happens. So I just know it's going to happen. And if it don't, I'm happy. But I don't ever get my feelings hurt when it don't.
Did you get some fuzzy dude shoes to wear fishing so your feet don't get cold?
I got them on order. Yep, they're coming. They're coming.
You know, my wife actually has some. They might fit you. They're fuzzy with a little leopard print on them, though. You might look.
That's fine. Yeah, I'll bring it in. I'll set a trend.
So today we're going to have the winner and possibly his partner, if he was available. That was to be determined. Of the Battle of the Brands tournament, a young man named Triston Abbot. I believe he was from Kentucky. We swapped messages last night. I don't know him. I actually had talked to him on the dock while I was over there tagging fish yesterday. Mm-hmm. He goes, man, did we talk today? He said, because I was the guy that tied my boat up with a trolling motor cord. He didn't have any rope. And he pulls up, and I look, and he's standing behind me tying up to the dock with his trolling motor cord wrapped around one of the handles on the dock. And I said, man, you're brave. And he goes, I can't find any rope. He said, well, I've screwed a lot of stuff up. Why stop now? So,
that's right.
And I wasn't sure that was him till we swapped messages. But they had 23.91. Pretty good bag. The weather for February and Battle of the Brands, Rattle Trap, whatever you want to call them tournament, was pretty good. I mean, it was a little cool, but, pretty good. Mm-hmm. And they've had it a lot colder for sure. Water temps that I was hearing from people ranged anywhere from mid-40s to even a few low 50s in the right spot up in the day. And as far as catching fish, it was everything from rattle traps to swim jigs to their little swim baits to dragging a jig. Everything. Oh, I saw some monster spots.
Really?
One of there's 5 21-pound bags in here, but one of those 21-pound bags came and dumped them in my basket as I was tagging, and there was 2 spots over 4 pounds. One of them was a little over 4.5. It looked like it had eaten a grapefruit.
Golly.
But I saw quite a few tagged a smallmouth too.
Oh, did you really?
About a 17-inch smallmouth. Mm-hmm. So who knows which? I don't know if it came from way up or way down, but it's probably going.
Yeah, it's probably going.
But man, there's a lot of healthy fish in Guntersville right now.
Yeah, all the pictures I've seen, they look healthy. I mean, I'm talking, they look good.
Yeah, they're fat and I mean, you run into a few of those that are built like you, long and skinny, but most of them were like me, short and fat.
That's right. That's right. It looks like there was a bunch of big fish caught. I mean, look, the top 6, you got it for me to cheat on right here, but like it looks like 668. So that's the big fish. 843. Is that all their big fish?
Yeah, that was
the
big fish.
I mean, there's a bunch of 7s, 6, 8s. I mean,
yeah, and I just pasted the top 10 on our little page here, but there was a second place big fish. I think that was another 8-pounder that he must not have had a lot to go with it. But I mean, because you see first and third right there, you had an 843 and then a 778.
I mean, it looks like there was some good fish caught.
There really was. There really was. 212 boats. which was down a little from last year.
Yeah, it's impressed me though. Like, look at which, like you said, you only got the top 10 here, but it looks like the weights were pretty high down the leaderboard. Like, that's what I always look at when I look at tournament weights. I don't always look at the winner because sometimes you got one guy that just blows it away. But like on down the line, that just shows you how good the lake's fishing. That everybody, that it took 20.28 to get in the top 10. That's pretty good. And I think I heard it took 18 pounds to get a check. So
they paid. And I thought I put it on.
I think they paid, 40 places?
42 places. There were, 10 20-pound bags. So the top 10 was 20 pounds, which 11th was 19.98. So, to get a check, as I scroll through this, it was actually, now on 42nd, it was 1562.
Oh, 1562.
1562.
Whoever told me that lied. That was not.
They were just mistaken. It was surely not intentional. Surely
Maybe not.
So,
fishermen are.
Yeah. There's a lot of changes between the old guys and the young guys, but one thing's for sure, none of them tell the truth.
No, none of them. Everybody's a liar when it comes to fishing. Everybody lies.
Come on, Trey.
Stretch the truth, we shall say.
Stretch the truth.
Not lie, stretch the truth.
We're going to see if we can get a hold of Mr. Abbott. He, unfortunately, the young man told me he lost his transmission on his truck about Waterfront on the way home yesterday. And I believe home's in Kentucky, so he wasn't real close.
Yeah.
And so I'm pretty sure he was making a trip back or forth today to try to get that thing transported. Mm-hmm. And I said, that sounds like some Trey Swindle luck. You win a little money and then tear something up.
Yep, that sounds just like me. I should get along with this guy.
Let's see if we can get a hold of him. We've got Triston Abbot on with us. Triston and his partner, Christian Nale, won the Battle of the Brands tournament yesterday with 23.91. Unfortunately, his partner wasn't able to meet us today. That work thing gets in the way sometimes. Triston, if it wasn't for transmission problems, you'd be working, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. I do heat and air in Somerset, Kentucky. I'm a service technician, so they keep me pretty well busy unless I, schedule off or anything.
I'm guessing losing your transmission on the way home from winning a tournament was not scheduled.
Oh, I actually lost it before the tournament. I come down Friday night and was coming down to practice Saturday and then fish on Sunday. And when I pulled into Waterfront, it just done.
Oh, well, you started the weekend off right. You ended it on a high note.
Yeah. Hey, that's good. I thought it happened on the way home.
Yeah, that's the way I thought, too. I misunderstood his message last night. So,
as soon as I pulled into Waterfront, I went to back up to a parking spot, and that was all she wrote. So we swapped trucks around and everything, got my boat in the water, and rode on from there and made it work.
Still went fishing.
Oh, yeah. Can't let that stuff bother you.
Have you spent much time on Guntersville?
So about every year I'll come down for, a week or two here and there through February and early January.
Oh, okay. All right. So you had a little history. You understand the Tennessee River anyway. So.
I wouldn't say that by no standards, but I'm familiar with them.
Right. Yeah. You've gotten a good dose of floating eelgrass.
Oh, yeah.
So did you guys catch a bunch of fish yesterday?
Took 9 bites all day.
9 bites.
9 bites. So it wasn't fast and furious then?
By no means whatsoever. We started off the morning, and I obviously, when I was out looking for fish, I was not throwing, Bill Lewis products. That's just, I'm not a Bill Lewis guy. I don't have confidence in it. That's just,
Sure.
So we go out and we find some fish on, some confidence baits. And my partner was up fishing Chickamauga at the time. So I just went out and kind of looked around and everything and, seeing what was what and caught some fish here and there. And the first spot we found, I pulled up on in practice and I took 2 bites off of it. And they was quality fish. So I left and went on. We start the morning there and within 20 minutes catch a 407 and a 398. So we're feeling good about it, especially throwing a black and chrome trap that we don't have an extreme amount of confidence in.
Right.
Sure.
And then it was just like you flipped the light switch off. At 1:30, I'd lost 2 more fish and we had not taken another bite. It was just like dead. And out of nowhere, Christian was burning her trap again. Christian just loads up on one with 6 foot of line out, and it was a 640 something.
Wow.
And now we're sitting on 3 and we're like, okay, well, we got to go to weigh in now regardless, 6 pounder is nothing crazy on Guntersville by no standards, but you got to weigh it.
Oh, yeah.
The next cast, I catch a 270. So now we're up to 4. And we go back to one of the places I'd lost one earlier in the day. And it felt like a good fish. You know, when you take a quality bite, you can normally tell that you took a quality bite.
Sure.
Pull back up, and in 2 casts, I caught a 690 something.
Mm.
And then that was it. We never took a bite the rest of the day. I mean, it was just dead.
Well, that's kind of, most people don't realize that, but that's kind of how it is this time of the year. If you're going to catch a big bag, you're not going to get many bites. The guys that are getting 20 bites a day are going to have 5 for about 14 pounds, but the guys that are going to catch big weight normally don't get but 5 to 8 bites a day. And normally you got to fish pretty clean to catch a big bag this time of the year. They're all healthy, but it's just hard to catch those
Far
big
and few between. No, I agree.
Absolutely.
I agree.
And the stress was, the stress of losing 3 wasn't too bad until we did have 5 in the boat. And, of course, we had them weighed and everything on our Rapala. And we knew we had, mid 23s. And then it really started eating at me because I've come down here and fished BFLs and seen 26, 27 pound when, it is Guntersville.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I'm sitting there just the whole time thinking, about these 3 fish I've lost throughout the day, sitting on a 270 in the live well that is easily cullable and can't get another bite to save nothing. And I really didn't expect to even have a shot at winning. I figured we had good money, but I didn't figure we'd win it by no means.
Well, it's pretty good start to the year. Except
Definitely got some momentum going.
Yeah.
Oh, that's my kind of luck.
So you mentioned, you said a minute ago, in chrome rattle trap?
Mm-hmm.
Half ounce, 3/4, 1 ounce?
Half ounce.
Half ounce. So just fishing grass?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Just running, just main lake type stuff, pockets. What kind of deal were you doing? A little bit of everything.
Mainly, trying to stay in like the back of creeks, places where they should be moving up with the sun.
Right.
Trying to get out of the wind. Somewhere we didn't feel like the current was just absolutely screwing with the fish more than anything because you had a south wind, north current at like 87,000. So we was trying to focus more. Absolutely. It was getting with it yesterday. You could still go upstream with the wind, but it wasn't fast and furious upstream.
The water wasn't real dirty though, was it? It didn't look like it where I was.
No, the water, I mean, it had a dinge to it, but it wasn't. It was a good color in my opinion, which I live on Lake Cumberland. So, we like dirty water.
That's just a river system basically, isn't it?
Highland Reservoir.
Oh, okay.
That's the one that'll flood and there'll be refrigerators floating down the lake and stuff like that. Yeah. It's like Smith, but on steroids. There'll just be a house floating down the middle of Cumberland for no reason.
Oh.
You'll be like, okay, yeah. You'll catch one off of it too.
Units.
It's like fishing in the ocean.
It's a spinnerbait lake. An old timer that likes to throw a spinnerbait, he loved Lake Cumberland.
Really?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
There is no offshore on that lake.
Yeah, y'all can keep your floating refrigerators. We don't.
I'm telling you, it's crazy. It flood. You know how Smith floods? It's like that, but it gets a whole lot worse there.
2 springs ago, we had a flood, and it went from our summer pool's 723. That's our standard lake level, and it was 761. But in the spring, it's nothing to see 735. 10 to 15 foot. Out of nowhere.
So you catch fish off people's lawn equipment, lawn chairs, and
No, ain't no lake houses on that pond.
Oh, really?
It's straight up and down hills. There's actually, other than a couple of marinas, there's like a handful of private docks, and they're few and far in between.
Now you're coming back to Guntersville next week?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, for the Toyota series?
Yes, sir.
Is this your first year fishing the Toyotas, or have you done that before?
I've never fished a full season of them. I fished one last year on Dale, which Dale's 45 minutes from me.
Right.
Had a 3rd place finish in it. Couldn't really complain on it by no means. Christian had a good finish in it too. He fished on day 3.
Mm. So are both y'all fishing the Toyota, Christian?
Yeah.
As well?
Yeah.
Both of you.
Yeah.
So you're gonna be sharing information?
Yeah, we'll definitely work together some on it. But, more or less techniques and, that kind of deal more than places.
Right. Do you feel like what you did this past week is, you think you can go catch big fish out of them again, or do you think you just got to cover water till you run into them?
Not big fish by no means. I think I can catch fish. I don't think I can drop another 24 pound on it by no standards. But I think, that 16 to 19 pounds pretty doable. I do believe.
Well, in a 3-day tournament, that's going to be what you have to have.
It took 59 pounds and 59.15 to win it in 3 days.
That's one of the things about a 3-fish tournament, especially on Guntersville. Somebody might weigh at 27 the first day, but they'll have 9 the second day.
Absolutely.
So you 18-pound them to death, and you might not win, but you're going to be up there.
You'll be a top 10 unless it just really shows out, and we're not quite back to that yet. So I think
we got a couple months before you start seeing the real big weights.
I do think with the full moon and everything and the weather that it looks like we're going to be given the next 2 weeks, I definitely think there are going to be a lot of fish that do decide to bite. But I don't think it's going to be like a shootout by no standards.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's supposed to start raining again Wednesday, Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We're a 3-inch rain away from a chocolate flood, which you like muddy water, you know how to fish it, so it may not mess with you, but I hate it.
Tennessee rivers, man, I understand enough about them to know they're nothing like Highland reservoirs by no means whatsoever, but to me, muddy water on Highland reservoirs pushes fish right up on everything you want them to be on that's visual.
Right.
And I just feel like Tennessee rivers, it scatters them out more than it clusters them up with dirty water.
Yeah, and there'll be some floating grass on top of wherever the fish are. It's almost a guarantee.
Yeah. Well, I feel like, too, at Guntersville, on a Highland Reservoir, there's all kinds of structure, wood and trees and stuff they can get on and find a piece of vertical cover, to get kind of lean up on, feel safe. But like at Guntersville, it's all grass. So when you put another 4 feet on top of them, it's just like there's grass everywhere and they just spread out. Like there's nowhere really, you can't really go to Guntersville and fish the bank. So it's kind of irrelevant when it floods to catch them that way. It's just, I don't know, it's just the way the lake lays, I guess.
Right. And they already want to be shallow, and then you throw 3 to 4 foot of water on top of that, and now they can't get to where the depth they're comfortable living in.
Mm-hmm.
You think the shallow bite's what's going to win it next week, Toyota Series weekend after next, or do you think some of the bridges and some of that other garbage will come into play? I say garbage because it turns into a zoo.
There'll definitely be somebody bust a bag off a bridge, I'm sure, and it wouldn't surprise me if we get any rain for somebody to catch them out of some tail races. But I think the majority is going to be one out of a creek somewhere.
I'm pretty sure they're not letting them lock through this time. Last year it was just almost one below Guntersville Dam.
Yeah.
And they let them lock through. And I talked to somebody.
Okay.
I talked to somebody that I think was qualified to answer the question. I'm totally blank on who it was yesterday. Yeah. But I talked to somebody and they told me they were limiting it to 260 boats and that they were not allowing them to lock. Last year they kind of got out of hand because they had 300 and something. So
right.
So they ended up letting them lock. And if it hadn't come that flood, old smallmouth guy.
He would have won.
He was fixing to win it. Because he was killing.
He was on a tear. That is for sure.
Yeah.
Well, if that's the case, then there's definitely going to be some bridges play in it, but I could see it being one out of a creek.
Yeah.
Yeah. This year it's just, I don't know. I just feel like every big tournament at least, it's always one in the grass on a chatterbait and a trap. The back of a creek or leading to a back of a creek. Most of them are off the main lake. They're kind of heading back into the, spawning areas. Not necessarily getting ready to spawn, but moving that way. So it just seems like
they got it on their mind.
Yeah, they got it on their mind. So usually, they're making their way in the backs. And the guy, if it warms up and stays warm, we get a full moon. It could get good.
Yeah, we're going to be, full moon was somewhere here today, yesterday, last few days. So we're going to be, a couple weeks off of that.
Yep.
But there's still, it's February. There are people that swear that there are fish spawn in February on Guntersville, and I don't disagree. I saw a big fish yesterday that if the water wasn't 48 degrees, I would have said, man, that fish is spawning. The entire lower half of its tail was bloody and gone. And the dude said, man, it wasn't even anywhere near any spawning water. I don't understand it, but it's like something had been eaten on its tail or something. But it looked, if it was a month from now, you would have go, look, that fish's been spawning. But
and I know on Highland reservoirs, obviously wintertime, it's either you fish brush piles or you scope. Mm-hmm. That's kind of your two options back where I live at. And Cumberland's more brush piles, Dale's more scope. and it's nothing to catch bass on Cumberland, smallmouth, largemouth in between, that you could think they was spawning all the way through December, January, February, because they'll just be so beat up. But a lot of times what we see is it's just the brush piles. They hang so tight to them in the winter, it seems like. And I think it's just a flux of water, lakes being down, weather, everything all mixed together. Them fish will just get real lethargic and lay against that brush. And I think it really beats on them more than what people think.
So you even think maybe on Guntersville, some of these fish are hugging the bottom on some of that hard stuff,
Absolutely.
And they just wear their, get the red bellies and red tails. Just from, they may be in 20 foot of water, but they're still hugging
Absolutely.
tight. Yeah,
absolutely. Because something I've always seen on any lake I've fished across the country, it seems like really after November's when I consider what is fall fishing. That is when they're doing their fall feed, chasing bait, all that stuff. And then it seems like later through the month of December, when that water starts getting down that 47, 48, they go ahead and go to where they're going to spawn, whether it be at the mouth of it, back in it, and they just live there until it's time to pull up and actually do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's a fair assessment. I mean, there's a lot of fish in Guntersville year round at less than 5 foot of water.
Yep.
And even when the water's way colder than it should.
Yeah, I'm still a firm believer, and you know how much I love fishing out deep, but I'm a firm believer that 75% of the fish here never leave the bank, I say the bank, never leave the grass, never leave more than 8 foot of grass.
I think that's
right.
Become more prevalent since the eelgrass took over.
Yeah, and I think too, since the electronics have gotten so good and they get their brains beat in out there every single day, I think it even helps it even more because they get dizzy, they get caught so many times, and they swim back up there in the grass and hide.
Look, the problem is there's too many of these Trey Swindle kids that go fishing every day.
Well, now, look, I had like 786 hours on my Triton when I sold it, so I do my fair share of idling and never casting.
Oh,
now I will come up here and win me about 6 Tuesday nighters in a row off one school, but
Tuesday night king.
Yeah, I can. If you could make a living off of them, I'd be all right.
You barely pay for the gas.
Yeah, I still lose money. I could win 4 in a row and still lose $500, and I'm like, how did that even happen?
I like my 4-hour Tuesday night derbs now.
God, they're fun, man. They're fun.
Oh yeah, they didn't like a little wildcat.
I used to run a bunch of them, and then I had kids, and that you got this, you got that.
Yeah.
Did electronics come into play at all with your catch this weekend? Did you live scope anything? Did you see any fish on anything, or did you just fish?
We seen some fish. Like I use active target. We would see fish with active target, not necessarily. We wasn't scoping them by no means. We wasn't throwing out there watching them get the trap in front of their face till something ate it. But it definitely, did key us in on areas that we needed to put our head down and fish.
See them moving around a little, or just
bait, you could just see them, around a hard spot or something on a shell bar or something. You would see fish kind of roam around. Then you might see a little wolf pack of gizzards or something swimming around. You knew then, okay, there's some activity here. There's at some point something can go down here,
right?
And we might leave a spot with gizzards on it. Come back to it later on and fish a little more.
Is that what made you throw the chrome trap? I mean, most of your time, people February. March, red trap. Now, I've caught a lot on a chrome. It definitely serves its purpose. I just wonder what led you to throw a chrome trap.
To me, man, red's just overrated.
Amen.
That's the biggest thing with it for me. It ain't that I don't believe a red catches fish. Absolutely. You give me dirty water on any lake across the country that fish get shallow in, I'm going to throw a red crankbait. But when you hear Guntersville, you can ask somebody that is ignorant to fishing, and they're going to hear red rattle trap. That's the first assessment people make at Guntersville in the wintertime.
Sure.
I just think it's so overrated down here.
Yeah, I think they see it too much.
The fishermen and the fish have both been conditioned to the red rattle trap. So.
And like I said, I'm not a Bill Lewis guy at all. I don't even really like rattle traps. I mean, I ain't even going to lie about it,
But, you made them work,
Well, absolutely. And that's another thing. How many fish actually see a Bill Lewis rattle trap on Guntersville when you've got the old Excaliburs, Z-tabs, Zuri? Most people's not throwing that anymore. That's kind of a old Cotton Cordell thing.
Yep.
No, that's fair. I mean, now there's a time that I've seen a time, and I'm 47, so I've thrown one for a minute, and that used to be all there was. But
right.
Now there is a time that for whatever reason that bait is better than the others. Now,
Well,
there's so many options.
Yeah, well, I think different brands serve for different things. What I've noticed is like I like to yo-yo a trap more than anything, more than reeling it. So I like an Excalibur or a Booyah, which is basically an Excalibur now. But for the Bill Lewis, to me, like burning a trap is probably the best one they make for reeling it. Now, for yo-yoing it, I can't stand the Bill Lewis. The Booyah, the way it falls is better. I just think they all have their purpose for different things. Now, like I said, Bill Lewis burning a trap, which I rarely do, but it's probably the best one you could do for it. I don't know. It's like the way that it's shaped, it kind of digs almost like a crankbait when you reel it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it don't have that, even though they're all half ounce, it still don't fall like a half ounce trap.
Yep. I think that's why I don't like yo-yoing it. It just don't fall right. It's more
And
of a
there's
reeling
probably
trap.
definitely, I mean, there's definitely a time where it's going to shine because it don't fall as fast.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, pressured fish, anything along those lines. Because I'm sure if, out of the 212 boats, any of them that practiced probably done the same as me and was not throwing that in practice.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sure there was guys that put it in their hand and, tried with it, but there's a bunch of people that's going to go looking for fish with, the baits they have confidence in and then just try to make that work.
Well, and you had a lot of options this time. I mean, one of the top 6, 5, somebody in the top 4, 5, 6, 7th place, I don't remember which one of them it was, had 21 something pounds, and they had 2 spots over 4 pounds, and they did not catch them on a rattle trap. They caught them on one of the Yamamoto's, like a stand-up hit, or what I forget the other brand, but they caught them on a Ned rig type deal.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
4.5 pound spot is a stud on Guntersville, though.
Yeah,
it is.
That
thing was a stud.
that was hauled down from Smith.
Yeah, I don't know, man. We've been getting a bunch of them. If you fish down here 4 or 5 days practicing for that Toyota, I'd almost guarantee you're going to catch one somewhere where you don't expect to. Mm-hmm. You're going to be running a riverbank somewhere and throwing a rattle trap, and all of a sudden you're going to catch a 3 pound spot. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know why they've picked up so much in the last few years. I think we might need to take them out and eat them because there's too many of them. I want to.
Well, I will say this summer when I was catching them out deep, I caught way more spots this year than I ever had, and not good ones. I mean, anywhere from 2 to 3 1/4. Like I caught one almost 4 pounder, like a 3 1/2, 3 3/4
in the summer.
Yeah, in the summertime.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
now on Guntersville, are they still the Coosa spot, or is it just your normal Kentucky bass?
I can't answer that. Trey may be able to.
I don't know. I just know a spot. I'm not real smart.
Yeah, that's.
Well, so like on Lake Cumberland and Dale Hollow, we've got spots galore. I mean, chock full of them. It used to be nothing on Cumberland to catch 10 to 15, 20 of them a day, but you can catch a 4 pound spot on Cumberland and it not be 15 inches long. They just butterball.
Mm-hmm.
But like, Smith Lake, obviously you get these long, skinny Coosa breed of spots that are 18, 19 inches.
Yeah, most of ours here are kind of more short and fat. Now that you say that, you don't really catch them here that's long and skinny like you do at Smith.
Yeah. Right.
I would.
See, that's what
say
Cumberland's chock full of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm just curious what has made them. And I think we might have had that conversation with the biologist. On one of our last episodes last year, we talked to one of the biologists, and I think we might have talked about the spots a little. I don't remember what he said. I had to go back and listen to it.
Yeah,
but
they're definitely a way different breed. Just the way they act and everything. It's wild to me. From going from Lake Cumberland catching what our spots are to Smith or anywhere down here, even Hartwell, Lanier, and it's so different how they act out there when they suspend. How much more aggressive the Coosas are than what I would call a Kentuck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Trey's going to Smith next weekend. We talked about that a little off the air. You said you liked it as well. Is that right?
Absolutely. Had a really blessed tournament down there and qualified for the All-American. It's a fun place to catch a bunch of numbers.
And is that you live scoping most of that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That changed the game down there, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
Oh yeah. And I knew in practice, that 12 to 13 pound was going to be about my max. Obviously it took a little more when Wiggins won, but I knew in that tournament, if you didn't take that 3.5 to 4.5 pound largemouth bite, you wasn't going to have the opportunity. Just like at Guntersville, more than likely the guy who wins one of the days in 3 days of competition is going to have a big one.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially in a one-day tournament.
Everybody in the top 6 in the Battle of the Brands yesterday had a big one. 7, 7, 8, 6, 6. I mean, every one of them. So a buddy of mine got ninth, and he had 20-33, and he goes, man, I looked at it. He said, all I was missing was the big bite. He said, he had, 5 4s. And, he said, I just couldn't get a big bite, which,
Right. And that's how Del Hollow is. Like last year in the spring, it was around the end of March, me and Christian fished the Toyota up there. And I think in 3 days, I ended up with somewhere around like 62 pounds. And I don't know that I weighed a fish in over 5'4", 5'5".
It's all solid.
Full of them as solid fish. Like it is so hard to get over a 22-pound bag up there and win a Saturday local tournament because taking that big bite to get you over that little hump.
For sure.
Out of Christian and a couple boys that fish up there all the time, they'll always have, you can just guarantee on a Saturday, they're going to catch 20 to 23 pounds. But everybody stacks up in the exact same place because nobody more than likely catches that giant.
Right.
Yeah, I think Pat can back me up on this. I think that's one thing that I've enjoyed seeing about Lake Guntersville, though, the past 2 years, really, I've really noticed it's like, everybody talks about how Guntersville ain't as good as it once was. Well, nothing is, so everybody just stop griping because nothing's ever as good as it once was. But the thing I like to see about Guntersville is like you catch more day in and day out that are between 15 and 19 inches long, just solid, just 2 3/4 to 3.5, 4 pounders in that range
100%
than I ever have since I started fishing Guntersville.
Yeah,
and people are complaining because they're not 8 pounders, and I'm like, but those are gonna be 8 pounders in 3 or 4 years. Like you're just gonna have to be like it. That just goes to show you how healthy a lake is when you can go and catch 20 fish and the smallest one be 2 3/4.
Yeah, we 100% had a little down cycle for a couple of years, and some of the biologists, make that to be with poor spawn years, recruitment they call it. But for a few years now, I mean, you remember 3 or 4 years ago that the number of 12-inch schoolies that were out there running around, they're 3 and 4 pounders now, and there's a pile of them.
Yeah.
So.
Now, like I said, this summer I caught. I don't even know. I'd hate to put a number on how many I caught between 2 3/4 and 4 pounds. It was just unreal. Now I didn't catch. I didn't catch a 9 pounder. I caught some 7s, and like 1 8 and a bunch of 6s. But like it's not what it used to be for biggins, but just healthy for a lake. I mean, it's one of the best I've ever been to still.
Yeah.
I seen you on TikTok catching a one-eye Willie.
Oh yeah, I caught old one-eye Willie on a 10XD. He was old biggin.
Old TikTok. I can't put that Chinese garbage on my phone. I'll Google it every now and then, but
I like it. I get on there for like hours and hours and hours.
I don't need anything else to distract my time. I'm sure. I asked Trey one time, "How'd you meet your girlfriend?" He goes, "TikTok," and I just shook my head and walked away.
Hey, it's a multi-use tool I got on my phone.
Yeah,
I found my girlfriend. I get followers. I make videos. I mean, it's just use it for everything.
It blows my mind. So, Triston, I can't thank you enough for taking time to come on and talk with us while you're traveling around with a messed up truck. And
name of the game.
Yeah, man. Best of luck to you when you come back. And I tell you what, if you win the Toyota Series, we're gonna get you on here and you're gonna give us the real juice.
We can do it then. No exaggeration.
No exaggeration.
That's right. We talk too much about Cumberland. I'm gonna have to get you to take me to Cumberland one day. I've never been. I just know a lot about it, just from people that I know.
Sounds like he's the right guy for the job.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Hey, Triston, have a safe trip back to Kentucky, and I appreciate you taking a few minutes to talk with us today.
Hey, no problem. Thank you all very much for having me on here.
Have a good one.
You all as well.
I don't know about you, Trey, but that was a pretty good phone call.
It was. It was.
And I almost felt like I had an extra Trey on here. He kind of reminded me of you. He liked to talk fishing anywhere.
Yeah. Seems like he likes the same style of fishing. I was like, man, am I talking to myself here?
We may have a little bromance develop out of this. I don't know.
Dadgum. You want to turn around where you broke down truck, go fishing? We cut this podcast short.
Yeah. Hey, you'd go fishing right now. It's 65 degrees outside. I'm surprised you showed up.
Yeah, 4:30. We got like 30 minutes. We can make it happen.
I don't know. You don't like 30 minutes.
No, I don't. I like to stay a while. But
stay a little while. So hopefully, he provided a little useful information, and the lake is going to be changing over the next 3 or 4 weeks. If it doesn't rain 6 inches, I'd love to have a spring without a major flood, personally.
Yep.
Last year, I thought, well, maybe it'll help wash away the eelgrass. I was wrong.
Yeah, we just need a good year of a good spawn. I'd like to have a good spawn, no flooding, nothing crazy like that. But I don't know about you, but for everybody listening, from what we gathered from him, from what I gathered, is kind of just for you guys coming in and fishing or whatever, it seemed like he was targeting kind of where the fish were heading now. So they're all kind of moving towards the backs of pockets to get ready to spawn. And he said, obviously caught him on a chrome and black rattle trap. So it's kind of cool
many.
to me. Yeah, no, he said he didn't get many bites, but that just shows you there's not a lot just flooding to the back
right
pockets,
ones.
but it's the right one. So that means the rest ain't far behind. So that main lake stuff's kind of falling off, and they're all kind of heading towards spawning areas to get ready to, be around that area so when they get ready to spawn, they can quick.
Historically, the big girls on Guntersville come first.
Yep.
That's just the way it's always been. So, speaking of which, you're throwing out the little tidbits there. When I tagged 40 or 50 fish down there at Browns Creek the other day. I'm sure you'll catch one this summer.
Hopefully.
A lot of people said, hey, they came from up the river, so it'll be real interesting to see where they go. I mean, I kept a range of numbers. I didn't keep up with it. Had a gentleman walk up to me while I was tagging. I did not catch his name. There was a lot of folks standing there. I had some kids standing there watching, thought it was cool, whatever. But it was a gentleman, I believe he was from Pennsylvania, that said, hey, excuse me. He said, I'm sorry to bother you. He said, but do you do a podcast? And I kind of caught off guard by that. I'm like, yes, sir, I do. And he goes, man, I just want to tell you, he said, I really enjoy you and Trey talking. He said, I just bought a place down here and I'm down here fishing a fair amount. I don't know my way around that much. And he said, it's very useful and I really enjoy it. And so a shout out to him. Thanks for listening. That's happened a few times. It's still weird to me. Trey's famous. I'm not. So,
I ain't famous. But we do appreciate that. That's kind of what that's what me and Pat talked about. That's what we wanted to do it for, is people coming in. And it's not just for the locals. It's for people coming in. We wanted to help them out, give them a good idea of what's going on the lake. So that's awesome to hear that somebody's finding it useful.
Yeah, it really is. Probably between now and the next time we meet in a couple of weeks, hopefully, I hope to actually go fishing. Mm-hmm. You may actually go. I know you're going to Smith.
Yep,
but
I got Smith, but that whole next week I'm gonna try to slip out here. It's been so long since I've been on Guntersville, I can't even really talk about it. I have to listen to what everybody else says.
Yeah, me too. I've been standing on the dock sticking purple tags in their back. They're purple this year.
They're purple this year. Perfect.
Yeah. I've been standing around doing that, but that's really it. I was shocked. I expected the water to be muddy. It looked great. Yeah, I mean, it had a little stain in places, but it was high. Yeah. Which is better than low.
Yeah.
But you would not believe the floating grass beside the dock at all red. So I drove by there, and like if you're looking at it from the highway, that entire left pocket right there was like an acre from dock to dock.
Golly.
It was awful. And that's all I heard standing up there on the dock was, man, I had some fish. I couldn't even fish them.
Yeah. It always happens that way.
Over the next couple of weeks, you've got an ABA District 29, which is the draw trail, going on out of Waterfront on the 11th. That's this coming Saturday. There'll be the guys out of Mud Creek that run the Mud Creek Wildcats are putting on a little wildcat for me that I'm going to go tag some fish up there. So if you want tag stuck in a few of your fishes back, come to Mud Creek. There's a high school tournament out of Goose Pond that's Saturday and Sunday. On Sunday, the group that has a little wildcat out of Roseberry is putting on a tournament for me to tag at out of Scottsboro City Park. So there's another chance if you want to get one tagged for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. If you know, at least you know where it came from, maybe it'll go back.
That's right.
It's starting to pick back up. It's February. The weather's always iffy, so they don't schedule a lot of stuff anymore. Mm-hmm. But you got that Toyota series that starts the 16th, which is, I guess, Thursday maybe. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so those guys will be in here by this weekend like crazy.
Yep. Yeah. I kind of wish I would have got in that. Dang it.
Then you'd really had to fish. I'm sure they're full, but there might be a way.
Well, yeah, I don't know. If anybody's listening that knows how I can get in there, message me. Maybe I'll
on TikTok. If he looks at TikTok
or anything, TikTok. Somebody find me and say, "Hey, we can get you in the Toyota series," and I'll slide up in there and donate my $1,500.
Hook him up. He wants to get rid of $1,500.
That's right.
Same time, the 18th, that Saturday, which would be there'll be a cut on the Toyota for that by that point, probably down to 50 or something like that. There was an ABA Open Series, which is a kind of like their BFL equivalent, and it's normally out of Goose Pond, but they moved it to Waterfront because the Toyota Series is out of Goose Pond this time. So I think that about does it. Mm-hmm. Trey, you got any tidbits? You gonna go win Smith Lake this weekend?
That's what I plan on doing. I'm gonna go over there tomorrow and look around, see what I can't find. So maybe I come away with another top 10 or something.
You think it'd be muddy down there?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so. And it's supposed to rain a little bit Wednesday and Thursday, maybe a little bit Friday, but it doesn't look like it's going to be enough to make it flood or nothing. Nothing crazy.
Is it high, low, normal winter?
It's 502, and it was like 500 last week before it rained. So full pool's 510.
Oh, so it's still got a long ways.
That's like summer pool. Yeah. So like winter pool's usually around 500, 498 to 500. So it's a little high compared to what it was, but nothing crazy.
Figured out when your first traveling tournament is?
I leave the 24th of this month. So it's the first day of the Open at Eufaula, Alabama. It will be March 2nd, I think. March 2nd through the 4th.
You fished Eufaula before?
A couple times, handful. I've never really been there for, like a lot, but I have been there probably 4 or 5 times.
4 or 5 times. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Well, guys, we appreciate you listening. Thanks to Frog Talks. Thanks to all the listeners. Thank you, Trey, for driving up from whatever county it is you live in down there. Until next time, enjoy the floating grass. We'll see you soon.